Howdy, howdy. Oh, I'm live. Be back in a second. Okay. I got some hip hop going on in my ear. Let me mellow my mood. It helps to have a little bit of music because it just gets over some of the oddities of one's consciousness. How am I doing today, everybody? I'm not. But I am. Let's see. I'm going to be reading from this. So, from my book, this technique I'm reading is how monks transfer their consciousness. The consciousness transference, natural liberation through recollection, which is the fourth type. Yada, yada, yada. A guide to the 6 intermediate states according to the perfection stage. I'm in the perfection stage for something currently. I don't know what. Consciousness transference, natural liberation through recollection, is a powerful method. It's Phowa Chenpo, or just Phowa. Yeah, this has not been a good year. I'm getting old. That's a new wrinkle. Anyway, a powerful method, a means for attaining Buddhahood, which does not necessarily require meditation. Bullshit. It requires meditation. This oral instruction through which Buddhahood can be attained at the time of death is therefore most valuable for those who have not trained in the cycle of cutting through resistance, or in the meditations of the illusory body, dream yoga, and inner radiance. Yeah, I've done all of those. If you're ever my friend, inner radiance took a while, but it's really simple. When you're sitting in Mahamudra, Zazen, Padma, Asana, they're all the same word. I just said same 3 words for the same thing. Anyway, when you're sitting in Mahamudra in Padma Asana, you turn your gaze inwards, and instead of trying to, you just notice the quality of light. These biophotons that are cruising around on your consciousness. I know Jay would get this. Dream yoga. When this book came in, the first couple of years that I had to deal with the fact that I'm the reincarnated teacher, I lived in dreams. It was kind of fun. Not really, but it's interesting to be in the dream world fully for months at a time. I don't really recommend it unless you're going to be a monk or something and do inner work, but I didn't have much choice. And the illusory body. Oh, yeah. So once you activate some of these abilities, you learn that your body is an illusion. Once you gain the ability to manipulate the light within your body, you can attain calmness of being, and through that calmness, you can regulate your health. You're still going to get sick, you're still going to die, but you can learn to accept your health. Sometimes, if you're lucky and you're doing yoga, you can actually. And the point is to get really bright. Anyway, where were we? Cutting through resistance. If you're not experienced in the meditations of cutting through resistance, which is the Trekcho, cutting through resistance, Trekcho. It's much more simple than what this means, but cutting yourself away from resistance, cutting off attachments. So 2 other ways of, doesn't mean physically cut, doesn't mean that. This is the implement used for cutting through resistance. Yada, yada, yada. Release the truth of the 4 modes of liberation. In particular, it is valuable for ordinary persons, officials and householders, and distracted individuals who have no time in meditation, despite having received those instructions, like this one. That is, This book is such crap sometimes, people. I'm sorry. I'm literally marked by it. But how these open teachings are worded are for you have these techniques take months to learn, and reading through it is the biggest disservice. Thinking that you're going to receive these blessings by reading the book is just one of the biggest. That is the sham that is religion. That being said, this does work. Blah blah blah. I suppose if you set up a meditation spot at your home and regularly practice, come to the fact that you're going to die one day, and instead of getting afraid, you learn to use that feeling, and you learn to use it to pacify your unruly mind and the harsh and negative comments and critiques coming from friends or rivals, because you know that they're going to die too, just as soon as you're going to die. Not that there's no death threats. This is like dealing with one's, this is what this book is for. This is one of the big problems I have with people is like, I've done a shitload of meditation. And anyway, let's see, back to the oral reading. That is, it is valuable to all those who have not engaged in experiential cultivation, such as myself, even though they may have obtained profound teachings and who, as a consequence, may die in an ordinary frame of mind, having left the instructions as unrealized words, or having left a relationship to the sacred teachings as a mere theoretical understanding. Bigelow. Where's James? This is like I'm worth $1 million to the great Randy, but no, anyone who is born subsequently will die, yet the time of death is unknown. This is where I'm different from lineage, other people. Maybe I'm just the same as everybody else. Indeed, since one's death might be imminent, one should be constantly alert to the signs which portend death, in accordance with the natural liberation through recognition of the visual indications and signs of death. There are other teachings in here. Once you've activated your inner body through yoga and such, the veils have become thinner, then you can project yourself up into the sky. Or you just do sun gazing. So in this book, there's all these supposed signs for recognizing death oncoming once the break of one's timeline. Dream indications are, I think, varied for individual users. I know the imageries and in my subconscious that have been used as signs of death in the past. Ravens, crows, one of them. Imagery is usually fairly easy. So anyway, some of these things, recognition of the visual indications and signs of death, means that you can like broadcast, project your mind up into the sky, and you look for imagery of yourself. And this book has all sorts of funny things that, if you have rainbow, they do actually work, but you have to go and find you have to do a shitload of shitload of meditation in a cave in order to attain some of these things, these rainbow body yogas, which allow you to project yourself into the sky. So, that being said, the average person who reads this, good luck. One should analyze the signs indicative of remote death, the signs indicative of near death, and the signs indicative of uncertain death, and the signs indicative of inevitable death. I was usually considered a fairly safe person to be around on tripping because of my affiliation and the karmas with this. I always get this, one of the protective deities come along and say, "You're gonna die," and it would ruin the trip like really quickly. I'd sober up. And once you sober up on mushrooms or acid, then it's a different world. You're able to act a little bit better and just enjoy the effects of the enzymes that psilocin triggers within the body, which stimulates nerve growth and harmonizes certain aspects of your psychology, which may be out of maybe acting discordantly. Okay. Anyway, I never get to speak, people. Sorry. Just need to use my tongue occasionally. One should also perceive with practices contained in the ritual deception of death. I don't do that. As correspond to the signs of death which might appear. If, on the other hand, one were to perform these conscious transference, either within. So this next paragraph, blah blah blah, yeah, blah blah. This is even greater misdeed than committing, blah 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 blah. There's a lot of valid morality in here. That being said, let's get to the cool stuff. The practice of Phowa Chenpo has two aspects, namely training and the actual application. First, with regard to training, just as, for example, when a man faces the inevitability of the arrival of an external foe, before his enemy approaches, he will prepare armor, weapons, and arrows, and train the arts of warfare, but only don and apply when the enemy actually arrives and strikes. So in this context, the training takes place before the indications of death have arisen. Since one does not know when one will die, training should be undertaken from the present moment, for it is essential that one is able to complete the actual application of consciousness transference successfully when death becomes certain. Now, the training in consciousness transference may be undertaken in two contexts. At time when general guidance on the preliminary practices is being given, or when specific guidance on consciousness transference is being given, whichever is appropriate. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to remember what it was like when I died. I know what it's like when you die, but kind of like what Rick and Morty says, or Rick says, it's black. When you die, it's black. There's nothing. For the majority of people, that is true, unless they've learned to awaken their subtle body and understand their inner radiance and have worked with other spiritual practitioners. There's sort of an existing mind structure that keeps some of these high-level people reincarnating on this planet, and they're not Christian. We call them High Lama. Now, the training and consciousness transference may be undertaken in two contexts. As found in the preliminary practices of the general guidance, one should reflect upon the difficulty of attaining a human form endowed with freedoms and opportunities conducive to practice, and one should reflect on the sufferings of cyclic existence and develop an attitude which is delusioned with cyclic existence and desirous of renunciation. People are just patterns, and the human brain works on heuristics. And as soon as you understand one pattern, you kind of start being able to predict what people are going to do. I was found in the I'll have to go through and always read the little nines. The 9 is a number. Read the notes for these, because sometimes there's real useful information all the way in the back of the book. Anyway, then sitting on a comfortable, taking the freedoms and opportunities which one should always, with the depths of one's heart, remember death, which is never far away. Then, sitting on a comfortable seat in the posture of bodhisattvas. Here who knows what that could mean. Bodhisattva, posture of bodhisattvas are many and varied, but they probably mean Padma Asana, or they mean some way that's calm. It's really simple, just something that makes you comfortable. You can sit down and focus and put your hands. I have to stand up. This is Mahamudra. So stare, and then you imagine there's a bowl, a monk's bowl in your. That's only if you have a rainbow body or ability to form objects in consciousness with your light body. Sit in the bodhisattva. Takes a while. It's going to take you a couple months in order to still your mind. The body should be upright and erect. The hands should cover the knees, forming the earth-touching gesture. And the shoulders should be drawn upwards. Posture. One must always have posture. Good posture. Here's where it starts. Then, in one's own heart, one should visualize an azure blue symbol home. Here's that blue light. If you're really good, if you actually have bodhicitta, then you can see the hum. This can also be ham. There's a couple aum, A-U-M is another way of doing it, but hum. If you use Tibetan symbols, you're going to end up back in Tibet. If you use aum, you're probably going to end up somewhere in India. If you're really good and you know how to use Japanese symbols for some of these characters, you might end up in Japan. As given, this teaching is trying to direct me to go back into Tibet, but I have never been around the Nechung Keton. My lineage predates him, and it's a demon. The Nechung is literally a conquered demon. It's a giant spell by Padmasambhava, and he doesn't want to deal with it in his life. Anyway, all of that's complex. Let's see. Then in one's own heart, one should visualize a blazing blue symbol, blazing with light, from which a single syllable hum breaks away and descends to the rectum, precisely blocking the orifice which the hells are entered. So another syllable, hum, breaks away and descends to the orifice of procreation, thereby blocking the entrance to the realm of anguished spirits. Similarly, another syllable, hum, breaks away and blocks the entrance to the world of animals. That's your navel. Animals, which is in the urethra. Okay, well, another symbol, hum, moves towards the navel, others towards the mouth, the nostril, the eyes, and the ears, each one precisely blocking its respective orifice. So to count, you have one on your Wiyan, where you practice Bonda lift. It's not Uranus, but it's pretty close to Uranus. It's where you visualize one, then you visualize one on the tip of your pee-pee, and then one within the urethra. This is for when your body dies. If you do these things correctly, they will build up kind of a spiritual psycho-resonance within your body. For example, because I've been able to manifest Avalokitesvara and crystalline light, the Kri, H-R-I-H, Kri symbol. Sometimes there's once when it was very strongly in my vision as a physical optical distortion. And it lasted a little bit. It was very subtle, but it was like physical, just like looking around, and there was this big old tree symbol in my fucking sight for a while. It's because I manifested Avalokitesvara and crystalline light. So, and it went away. So you eyes, ears, nose, your navel, your anus, and then your sexual organ, both at the tip of it and then within the urethra, for male or female. All these things work the same. Then on the crown of the head, one should visualize that the crown fontanelle is blocked by a downward facing white ham. There's a hum and a ham. So here we're beginning to play around with polarization. So blue to white, probably on the other side. So your mind's going to hit the white light barrier. They want you to go through the hum or ham. It's that A-U-M. It's the same thing. And then somewhere out there, there's somebody practicing the other half of this where they visualize a red. that's more egotistical. That is what would happen within Tibet for centuries, is that, especially in Lhasa, they had this whole go and do these practices at home. And certain lamas, certain tulkuls developed a following, and there's there's a way of doing guided meditation, guided reincarnation. So anyway, Fontanelle, how to find these things. There's 3 points on your head. What you do is you get out your little magic hat. Try to do this. I don't have my little, there's a point right up in here that I remember, but you make sure the middle finger is pointing up, and then back here. And there are actually 3 points that line up with your skull and your cranium. And if you're doing real practices, mine kind of always feels funny. Anyway, if you're doing the secret practices, which I shouldn't give out, but I'm the one with the mark of enlightenment, you visualize the rainbow light coming down here. Sometimes you'll visualize a red column coming down. All of the Tibetan stuff, you visualize a teacher coming down and embodying in your heart or in your belly. So this takes forever to read, 2 pages. And on the crown of the head, one should visualize that the crown fontanelle is blocked by a downward-facing white syllable, ham. Further, one should visualize the central channel and the middle of the body straight and erect with a yellowish-white luster, like a taunt air-filled sheep's intestine, with its lower extremity extending below the navel and its upper extremity extending to the crown fontanelle. And the lower extremity below the navel at a focal point where the 3 main channels converge. One should visualize a brilliant white seminal point, which is the essence of awareness, radiant and clear, breathing rhythmically, continuously pulsating, and on the verge of ascending. So that's quite complex. You have to have this hum, bright blue hum, here on your eyes, your ears, your mouth, down in your nether regions, block navel, and then beyond that, you have a center line. It diverges, it comes out between the line, between the eyes. It actually nipples are sensitive to it. And anyway, let's go past sexual stuff. The center line is right here. So it's saying visualize a tiny little sparkling, radiant, clear light thing. I've seen these a couple times. They're usually pretty, when I've had some of the crystalline light, the wisdom deities manifest in crystalline light. There'll be this little sparkly tingle, like it's called a tinglet. Meanwhile, you have white hum up here. So you got white to blue. When this happens, if you do this, you start feeling. Actually, notice you get like some interesting feelings. If you really do these in deep retreat, you should get little like a red mark. Red mark here, and in the back if you're really, really good. But if you go that far, you're probably not just a normal person living at home. You're going to be more of a monk or something. The space above the crown of the head, one should visualize one's spiritual teacher seated full of joy in the form of Vajradhara. If you have a specific guru that you follow, instead of that Vajradhara, you imagine your spiritual teacher. In this case, this may be some Tibetan bone imagery, the blue demon with 6 arms and wings. And those are Haruka, but they're also sometimes Vajradhara. Then one's bodily weight should be drawn in and concentrated upwards, the rectum forcefully closed, the eyes should be turned upwards and lifted to rest along the upper palate, the hands firmly pressed in the fist gesture, with the thumbs pressing down on the bases of the 4th finger. Bases of the 4th fingers? This is poorly wrong. Something like this is what they mean. It's not a fist. It's this yoga symbol. This has a it's like inward. This is your center channel. These are. I'm not going into Mudra right now, but anyway, this is what it means. They should be. So you should something like this while you're meditating. I don't think I'm not going to give you the crop. Just ahigo, ahigo. That's. Yeah. See if I can do it. It's kind of what they mean. Cross your eyes, look upwards. When this really does start to work, you feel this like lifting, pulling sensation. When you're dying, you go into this meditation, and it becomes easier because the affairs of your heart are resolved. You're not going anywhere anymore. Once you really start meditating on emptiness and cutting free from attachments, life is different. So anyway, then from below the navel, the seminal point is moved forcefully upwards, and through the engagement of speech, it is elevated with support of guttural gasp pronounced hike. I've heard of hike. I've heard it said like that. Hike. Hike. Ka. Yeah. Max would always say ka. He did it not always, a couple times, I remember. Ka. Hike. To the force of the vital energy below, the seminal point is unable to resist being accelerated upwards through the central channel. By this method, it is moved upwards with 7 hike gasps, hike to the navel. Then with a further 7 hike gasps, hike. Remember Lama Christie just saying hike, just say hike. Hike the football. And then with a further 7 hikes, hike gasps, it reaches the heart, and a further 7, it reaches the throat. A further 7, it reaches the space between the eyebrows. Then uttering the hike final time, the seminal point makes contact with the syllable hum at the crown fontanelle, which after which one should visualize that it spins downwards again and comes to rest below the navel as a white radiance. Rest in that state for some time. But repeating this exercise a few times, signs will emerge that this training in consciousness transference has taken effect. The sensation of warmth will well up at the crown fontanelle. There will be sensations of prickliness, irritation, numbness, and swelling, while the crown of the head will seem to become supple and numb, and then serious fluid, blood, and so forth will emerge at the crown fontanelle. Closest I've gotten to that was when I was building a stupa, and this got red up here. When you really do this one, and you're on your deathbed, it will leave a hole in your skull. When this occurs, a spiritual teacher should carefully examine the crown fontanelle. Peacock feather or stalk of grass should be inserted so that it settles into the fontanelle. This insertion confirms that the training in consciousness transference has been successfully achieved. Max would talk about that in the lightning yoga classes. Getting a little piece of something and then you stick it in there. And you know that that's cracked open. Basically, you through the inner heat, you crack open these points, which I showed earlier using your magic hat. And that is your cerebral spinal fluid oozing out. So I've met Muslims met one Muslim practitioner who had it, and I've seen a couple women, Hindu women at the Neem Karoli ashram that had a very dark spot right here. That's why they put the little paint up there on Hinduism. Makes them a target, if you understand. Furthermore, swelling may occur on the crown of the head, and if the seminal point remains localized at the crown fontanelle, and the fontanelle is not breached, headaches and similar uncomfortable sensations will occur. Therefore, one should visualize that the syllable hum that the crown fontanelle is opened up and that the seminal point emerges vertically from the crown fontanelle, touches the feet of the spiritual teacher visualized above, and then descends again through the fontanelle to rest. So somehow your teacher's dancing on your head. Therefore, one should visualize that the syllable hum on the crown fontanelle is opened up, and then the seminal point emerges vertically. By repeating this exercise just a few times, the crown fontanelle will be open, blood or serious fluid will certainly emerge, and the blade of grass can be then be inserted. After this, it is very important that the crown fontanelle be reblocked by the syllable hum. For not doing so could limit your lifespan. Subsequently, in training, when maneuvering the seminal point up and down within the central channel without the Haika breath, yogic exercise, it remains very important to keep the crown fontanelle blocked with the syllable hum. Training consciousness transference should be practiced in the above manner. However, because Haika is a mantra which reduces the lifespan, this should only be used until training in consciousness transference is. God, wouldn't that be cool if you could go? It's what's his face from the just go around telling people Haika. It's got to be different. So, otherwise, after the training has been successful, do not resort to the Haika breathing. If on account of excessive exertion one overdoes the training in consciousness transference, one will run the risk of lapsing into perpetual unconsciousness. You pop your soul out of your body and your body's still alive, but that little seminal point is gone. That's kind of funny. There's some weird stuff that has happened high up in the mountains for the millennia that's just not known about. I miss the temples. Otherwise, in such cases, perpetual unconsciousness. In such cases, and if the consciousness has risen too precipitously and one experiences vertigo and so forth, one should beat the soles of the feet with a fist and massage the crown of the head. Then, while focusing intensely on the visualization of an extremely heavy golden stupa on the soles of the feet, that is a very heavy golden stupa. That is a reference to the Natron Keton. This makes no sense. He's talking about the Natron Keton when he puts the big heavy golden helmet on. So they want me to come back, but they don't. When I go and talk with the Tibetans, like, I guess it's just pure culture shock or something. I always call them about it. Got to be really annoying when I was going to Dharma teachings with the Tibetans because I would get a little voice or something come and talk with me, and I got one watcher. Anyway, I would be able to visualize and know what the Tibetan lamas are saying. I'd get like a 30-second summary of the next half hour, and then I'd have to sit there and listen to everything that I was already told. So anyway, this book is aimed at me, and I'm supposed to go back into Tibet. So Samaya, that's a spiritual promise. Secondly, the application phase refers to the actual transference of consciousness, which is to be undertaken when the indication of death are unequivocally present, and when, even after performing the appropriate ritual deception of death, on 3 occasions it is indicated that one will not recover. Nobody does this. Nobody. There may be some people in Tibet who lost Bhutan that practice this as written, but in reality, it's much simpler. Buddha body of this, Buddha body of that. Certainly these and trying to find somewhere in here a brief reference to my Dzogchen, which is, I have an imperial Dzogchen because the translator Liu Geltsen was friends with the king and queen and this Padma Baba. This is usually let's see, consciousness transference into the Buddha body of reality. Now, if one person's, I think I've given enough teaching. So anybody who finds this down the road, therein lies oral transmission on how to do these things. The meditations in this book do work, and blessings. Thanks for whoever's listening and watching.